Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are getting out of the world of theory and into the world of action. We're going to tackle what I think is the single most critical step in project risk management, actually implementing the risk responses. This isn't just about following a process. This is about that crucial moment where all the planning, all the analysis finally pays off. It's where we stop just talking about risk and start doing something about it to protect our projects and, frankly, to create some real value. And let's just dive right in with this quote, because it gets to the absolute heart of the matter. The PMBOK guide itself calls out the #1 failure point in risk management. And it's not a lack of smart analysis, it's a failure to act. How many times have you seen a brilliant risk register become what we call shelfware? It's a document that just gathers dust. Well, today, we're building the bridge from that document to decisive, meaningful action.
So here's our playbook for today. We'll kick things off with Section 1, the critical last mile, just to really frame the problem. Then we'll run through our pre-flight check in preparing for action. After that, it's all about getting things done and driving the response. We'll cover how to prove our work in measuring the impact, make sure it all sticks with ensuring lasting success, and then, at the very end, I'll boil it all down into your key takeaways.
All right, let's get into Section 1, the critical last mile. This is all about execution. Look, all the brilliant risk workshops and sophisticated analysis you've done, it's all purely academic until you actually take action. This right here, this is the moment where the success of your entire risk strategy is decided.
And here's the core idea I really want you to grab onto. Implementing risk responses is the engine of proactive management. It's the process that shifts your team from being, passive observers of fate to being active agents who are shaping the project's destiny. It's what ensures that those agreed-upon strategies actually get put into motion, moving you from just hoping for the best to actively creating the best possible outcome.
Moving on to Section 2, Preparing for Action. So, before you can execute anything, you need the right intelligence. In project management lingo, we call these inputs. But I want you to think of this as your pre-flight checklist. These are the absolute essential documents you need to have in your hands before you even think about taking off.
Let's just reframe how we think about these so-called inputs. They are not just bureaucratic artifacts to check off a list. From a consultant's point of view, these are your intelligence briefings. They answer the 3 most critical questions. What is the response? Why was it chosen? And who is on the hook to get it done? This context is what enables clear, decisive action.
So let's double-click on these core documents. First up, the risk register. This is your tactical action sheet. It tells you exactly what to do and who's supposed to do it. Next, the risk report. This gives you the big picture, right? It shows you how this one specific risk fits into the project's overall exposure, helping you make sure your priorities are straight. Third, the lessons learned register. This is your institutional memory. It prevents you from repeating past mistakes by showing you what actually worked or didn't work last time. And finally, the risk management plan. Think of this as your constitution, the rule book that keeps everyone aligned and playing by the same rules.
The key takeaway here is simple. Don't start blind. Trying to implement risk responses without these documents in hand is like trying to navigate a new city completely blindfolded. You're just going to waste time, burn resources, and you'll probably never get where you're going. These inputs make sure the entire team is aligned and working from the exact same playbook.
Okay, now for Section 3. Our intelligence is gathered, our checklist is complete, now it's time to act. This section is all about the tools and techniques. These are the active mechanisms you, as the project manager, are going to use to drive the plan forward. This is where strategy finally becomes reality.
We can really break this down into a simple, but really powerful and repeatable 3-step loop. First, you leverage expertise to make sure your approach is sound. Second, you mobilize people to actually get the work done. And third, you integrate all of these actions into your formal project systems. This ensures accountability and visibility. Let's take a quick look at each one.
Step 1 is about a crucial gut check. The plan that's sitting in the risk register might have been created weeks, maybe even months ago. Is it still the best course of action? This is where you bring in expert judgment. You get with your subject matter experts not just to rubber stamp the plan, but to ask the tough question. Given what we know today, is there a smarter, a faster, or a cheaper way to get this done? Now, step 2 is all about mobilizing people, and this quote highlights a core real-world challenge. The risk owner, well, they might be outside your direct authority. They might have a totally different boss and a mountain of competing priorities. Imagine they lead a different department and are absolutely swamped. Your job isn't just to assign a task, your job is to influence them to act.
and that means connecting the dots for them, showing them exactly how their action directly protects a shared project objective. It's all about persuasion, not just authority.
And finally, step 3, integrate with systems. Look, to make risk responses real, they have to become a formal part of the project plan. This means using your PMIS, your JIRA, your MS project, whatever you use, to add the response actions as actual tasks in the schedule. You assign resources, you allocate budget, and you track progress just like any other task. This is what makes risk management a core, accountable part of the project, not just some side topic for a weekly meeting.
So, you've taken action. Great. But how do you know if it's actually working? And how do you create a clear record of your efforts? That brings us right to Section 4, measuring the impact. This is all about the outputs, the tangible results, and the documented evidence that your risk responses have been implemented and are having an effect.
This slide really shows the critical transformation from just a plan to actual proof. Before, all you have is a line item in a spreadsheet. It's an intention. But after, you have concrete results, documents that are updated to reflect the new reality, and maybe even formal change requests when you're needed. This is how you move from simply intending to manage risk to actually doing it.
Let's just quickly walk through this audit trail because it's so important. Sometimes your solution creates a new problem, that's life. So that gets logged in the issue log. You will always learn something, so you capture that gold in the lessons learned register for next time. You've assigned people work, right? So the project team assignments get updated. And of course, you update the risk register and the report to show the risk is now being actively managed. And crucially, if your response changes the project's scope, cost, or schedule, you have to submit a formal change request.
The consultant's takeaway here is as simple as it gets. If it isn't documented, it didn't happen. In the world of project governance and dealing with stakeholders, these updated documents are not busy work. They are your proof. This is the audit trail that demonstrates you are in control and you're managing the project with professional diligence.
Okay, let's move on to our 5th section, ensuring lasting success. This is all about recognizing that risk management is not a one-and-done activity. Implementing a response is a huge milestone for sure, but it is not the end of the story. Real success comes from continuous, vigilant oversight.
So I'll just pose this question directly to you. Your response is implemented, the task is marked complete in your schedule. Are you done? The answer, of course, is a hard no. Risk management is a cycle, not a straight line. Now you have to make absolutely sure your actions are actually working as intended.
And this brings us to the next logical step in the whole framework, the monitor risks process. This is where you close the loop. You track the response you just implemented to see if it's having the desired effect. Did the probability of that threat actually decrease? And at the same time, you're scanning the horizon for brand new risks. This is what makes risk management a dynamic, living part of your project, not a static document.
Okay, let's wrap this up and get to the bottom line. In this final section, we are going to distill everything we've talked about into the most critical, most actionable takeaways from this entire explainer.
Here are the 5 principles I want you to remember. 1. Prioritize action. Analysis is great, but execution is what actually matters. 2. Leverage your existing plans. Don't reinvent the wheel. 3. Remember that influencing people is every bit as important as any technical skill you have. 4. Document everything. Create that audit trail. And 5. Never, ever forget that this is a continuous cycle. Implementation always leads back to monitoring.
And I really want to leave you with this one final thought. At the end of the day, effective risk management isn't about having a crystal ball. It's not about perfectly predicting every single thing that could go wrong. It's about building a project that is agile, that is aware, and that is resilient. A project that can absorb shocks, seize opportunities, and ultimately thrive in a deeply uncertain future. That is the true value of moving from a plan to real action.